question here. Does the Federal Reserve ever contract American currency? That's a question that I'm asking. Does the Federal Reserve ever contract American currency? And so there's always these people who are there to say, oh, the United States government just causes inflation by printing more money and printing more money. And nowadays, they don't even have to print it. Well, okay, they put money out to give to people. That's what they do with it. They're not putting it out in a sense of putting it on Wall Street, even though there's some things that they do. If they have surplus money, they will share it with the American people. And they do share it with some people on Wall Street too, actually. But related to the American public and inflation, now granted, the American government could be seen as causing inflation in some ways, but these people who make the argument, so for example, it wasn't that long ago, someone was talking about $400 a month was their payment for retirement. And I'm not sure if they were talking about that related to back in the day, you know, or one of their relatives maybe or something. You know, but okay, so if you have a population increase and you're giving people $600 a month for some reason, and you have a population increase and you need to give more people welfare, then of course it goes without saying the government will give people more money. They print more money. I mean, where are they going to get it from? But yet the private sector, on the other hand, has their hand out. They raise prices on the American public. They're price gouging. And that's what they're doing with that's the problem, is the private sector is the problem. And so there's people who fail to understand this, that the private sector is the problem with inflation. So I'm asking the question, does the Federal Reserve contract money? Does the Federal Reserve contract putting money out? E-slate. So does the Federal Reserve contract putting money out when we have a population decline? Because I keep hearing that we're having a population decline, which means less people are having babies. Not as many people are having babies. So does the Federal Reserve ever contract money and not put out as much money? So if they do that, then this means that if the government does a stimulus, but they're putting out less money, the private sector goes on ahead and, oh, we're going to raise prices because we're that fucking stupid. The private sector, Wall Street, is that fucking stupid and greedy that they want more money, so they just raise prices on people. So that means that the grocery stores on Wall Street, they're raising prices, hotels are raising prices, cruise lines are raising prices, rent is raising prices, and housing is raising prices. No wonder people are fucking homeless, because the goddamn private sector is dumb as a sack of shit. You guys hear me? They're dumb as a sack of fucking shit. I have nothing nice to say about them at all. And the Wall Street people are greedy too. You know, all of them. All the rich people are greedy. You know, so, and that has, you know, it's like, we know who they are. I'm not going to say their names. We all know who they are. So the question is, and I'm going to repeat this, does the Federal Reserve ever contract money? We never hear about it if they do. So with a contracting economy and less people, we keep hearing people are having less babies. So where's the extra money that was put out? Well, I think it probably still has to be put out, and it's being given back to people in cost of living. Well, then we've got the fucking private sector and the corporations with their hand out. Oh, we want to get some of this money because we think we deserve to have extra money year over year over year. Because you hear the CEOs, what they're always talking about is growth. So CEOs are nothing but a bunch of dirty, rotten scoundrels. They're greedy bastards who have their hand out. They want more money for their own self, and they write their self in cost of living raises all the time. I guess that's so they can buy another mansion or something. Because that's the thing we hear about all the time is they're living in these great big mansions. They're building great big houses that nobody can afford to live in. And so I guess, and a lot, I'm baffled by this because, hello, Eastlate, James, hello, James, and hello, Eastlate. And so, so the thing is that each country has their own, our country never wrote in immigration into this for 2025 and 2024. Our country did not factor immigration and a bunch of greedy ass migrants who want money too. Now, how do you reconcile that? Now, you're going to have to ask both the Democrats and the Republicans about that. They're going to be coming back soon, aren't they? Isn't it September or sometime they're coming back from their summer-long break, their recess? And they're going to be coming back, So the American public has had a lot of time to stew over this. We're not dumb. They always are telling us that we're not stupid, which is true. And so that's why I'm asking the question. I'm thinking of every question at every angle that I can think of to ask it. And that's why I had to ask, does the Federal Reserve ever contract money, which means hold back, but at the same time, then they're harming the American public, but then the greedy private sector thinks, oh, well, we're just going to raise prices on people again because we heard about a stimulus. There's a stimulus, they gave the American public money, so we're going to raise prices. So you know what? I think, I wish I say that, and then someone asked me the question, if every business went out of business, they said, where would you live? And that's true. Where would you be staying at? Where would you live if every business went out of business? Where would you buy food? And so the thing is, the private sector does have to contract. Someone said something about that McDonald's has reduced prices of some food back down to $5 for something. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe that was a Happy Meal. And $5 for a Happy Meal is still pretty expensive. I think it was like 6 chicken McNuggets and some fries and a drink, which that's still not very much food because 6 chicken McNuggets. You ask a man how far 6 chicken McNuggets is going to last, and he's going to be pissed. And so there, I said what I had to say. I asked my question. Does the Federal Reserve ever contract on money? And so, James, I really don't believe that you want to have a conversation. Because if you did, you would keep writing stuff. If you genuinely wanted to have a conversation, you would keep writing things, and you don't. You guys never keep writing things. And so I'm asking bona fide, real questions here, and it seems to be falling on deaf ears. Maybe I need to go to ChatGPT and have a real conversation, because it seems like real people don't know how to do that. They can't have a real conversation for some reason. They're a bunch of fucking idiots. It's not the robots. It's human beings that are dumb as a sack of rocks. That's what I've learned. The robots are actually smart. ChatGPT is smarter than your average 22-year-old. And even some of the geriatrics, too. ChatGPT is smarter than Donald Trump. I'll tell you that much right now.